All right, so Paul did make out a little better than Violet. Remember, Violet was ahead of them at the start. So I think there was a little right shift that they caught on Paul and allowed them to get ahead. There's the weather mark right there. So it looks like Paul's leading the pack. All right, so Paul will be first around, and the boats will sail on a short little reaching leg. That's to that offset mark. That's Jason Smith steering, assisted by Father Burley, 90 years young, and Ian, who's from Tasmania. All right, and here comes Violet with some newbies, being coached by Gary Sprague, two-lane All-American. He knows what he's doing. Here comes Cliff with some other newbies who have not really been sailing much before. Good job, Cliff. And here come the other boats. Barbie has some newbies on there too. So they're not doing too bad. All right, so these boats are wing and wing, going dead downwind. If I was Peanut, I would maybe heat it up a little bit and go attack Violet, get them in my wind shadow, try and affect them. But you see how Violet is heeling the boat to windward? Okay, that accomplishes a couple of things. It reduces wetted surface, i.e. drag, and you see how the boom is high up in the air? Well, every little bit of sail area that you can get higher gets up in a higher velocity because there's wind drag, there's friction that the wind has when it's near the water. And so, if you're like 50 feet up in the air, the velocity of the wind is like 50% greater. So the higher you can get that sail, the more pressure you'll catch and the faster you go. That's why they're pulling ahead of Peanut, you see? That's excellent crew weight placement, excellent sail trim, which is why they passed Peanut. All right, so first was Paul, then Violet, then Peanut, then right now we have Barbie and Filbert. One. All right, here we are at the start of race number 2. And the wind has increased to 9, gusting 10. And the other end of the line is favored a little bit, but I don't think it's favored enough to pull off a port tacking of the fleet like the blue boat seems to think they're going to do. 40 seconds to go. And I like how Violet's coming in here pretty fast, not too low. Again, Barbie down here, they're really way too far to leeward. You need to stay closer to the line when you're setting up your approach to the start. There's 15 seconds. And you want to be like up on the line if there's no other boats around you at this point. So Violet, to me, is looking the best. 3 seconds, 2, 1. All right, so Filbert's got a good start on the line, going fast. Violet's looking good. Paul's taking their sterns. And if port tack is the closest angle to your objective, then you want to be on port. And right now it looks like it could be a few degrees closer. So they're actually sailing a shorter distance to the weather mark. Okay, we've got to get out of these guys' way. So just back up. There we go. All right, and here comes Barbie. They tacked in the wind shadow of the blue boat, and they got to get their jib in. Peanut is pinching. You see how their mane is luffing so much? See how they've slowed way down? And see how Filbert is sailing loose? And they're going to pass them, okay? And Violet was pinching too, but they were getting squeezed because they were getting in between Filbert and the green boat. They had to tack away. But Peanut needs to like crack off a little bit and get that boat running. Get into acceleration mode or they will be passed by Filbert. Now, so look at Paul. Look at the blue boat Paul. They went on that closer angle to the objective on the initial tack. So that's why they pulled into first. That was a really good move. And look at Barbie. There must have been a big right shift because the boats on the right really gained on the boats on the left. So remember, we were talking about the prediction today was for it to go a little bit to the right. So on your windward legs, it pays to stay to the right because every time it shifts to the right, you gain on everybody else. All right, there's the weather mark. Here's Paul. They're not going to quite lay it, so they need to complete their tack, get into acceleration mode. Don't go into pointing mode. You want to accelerate out. There you go. Ease your sails out about 5 inches. Get it going, slightly trim in, and then tack right back. There you go. That was a good move. The other boats are pretty much on the lay line. If you have trouble making the lay line, the best thing to do is get your weight to leeward, heel the boat over about 10-15 degrees, and trim your sails in a little tighter than normal, and you can get about 3 to 4 degrees more pointing ability to make it around the mark when you need it. All right! Woo! These are newbies here. I'm glad to see them up there. Newbies need to taste a little bit of the glory of winning or being up in the front of the pack. All right, now you see how Filbert's having trouble laying the mark? Yeah, they need to get everybody to leeward, trim in, but don't pinch like that because the problem then becomes if the current's running from there to here, which the last time we looked it was slight, but it was. When you pinch like that, you're just going to get swept into the mark. So now Violet's going to go below them. Now if they ease their sails and keep their momentum up, they can shoot in the gap. Oh, we have a big mess. Because Filbert was on port, Peanut was on starboard. Peanut could protest them. So it looks like Violet's going to get around, and Filbert's kind of messing up Peanut. Oh, looks like Violet hit the mark. So they owe everybody a penalty turn. Now, Filbert's going to make another approach, and they need to get those sails in and heel that boat over so they get more pointing ability. Peanut also is having a little trouble there. Violet's having a problem. Oh, yeah, they hooked the mark. Oh, look at that. So they're making it easier for the other boats to get around. Oh, thank you, Violet. And that's one of the hazards of hitting the mark because your rudder could snag the anchor line of the mark like they did. And so the best thing to do is luff the boat up and try and get that mark from under your rudder. All right, we're gonna go help them. All right, here we are at the start of race number 3 and 50 seconds to go. Wind has slacked off a little bit. It's about 7 knots, 8 knots. And there's 35 seconds to go. I don't know what they're saying. It's too hard to hear over the engine noise and the wind. There's 20 seconds to go. Now the other end of the line is a bit favored, so I would be on the line going to the other end. I think the blue boat's going the right way. There's 5 seconds. The red boat needs to remember they're on port tack and they cannot interfere with the starboard tacker. So Filbert and the blue boat Paul got the best starts. And we need to stay clear of these boats, okay? And I like how these boats are going to the right side of the course. This is like where the wind is supposed to shift to. If I was Filbert, I'd think about maybe tacking over. So Filbert's coming back on port. They need to give way to any starboard tackers. Paul tacked over. And the boats on the right seem to be doing better. I think maybe the wind did go to the right a little bit. So Violet's looking pretty good, but we'll see here in a minute when the Violet and the blue boat cross. All right, so Violet is going to cross ahead of the red sail boat. So they're in the lead right now. All right, so Paul's going to be first around. Looks like Violet will be second. Peanut will probably be third. Barbie fourth. Filbert fifth. All right, so Paul's going to be first. And it looks like Violet will be second. Peanut third. We'll see who's in fourth. All right, we're on the line right now, and so Violet will be second. Whoop, they hit the mark though, followed by Peanut. And then it's going to be tight between these other two. Let's just see what happens here. Sight down the line. Hit in! All right, so next we have Filbert, then Barbie. All right. Of the mighty Paul, please come forward. Good job. Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Tactician work. Great steering. All right, and the winners for June 1st, 2019.